What's up, everybody? Welcome to Win, a show where we interview champions and trailblazers and ask questions to uncover and discover their championship traits for succeeding in sports, work, and life. Our guest today has a story to share that would be considered by many as unbelievable if you just told it to them. It's a story of passion, persistence, perseverance in the face of literal life or death adversity, resulting in triumph through all of it. Again, I'm Lee Elias. That's JB Spizzo, and we are joined today by flying trapeze artist Susan Norton. Susan, it is awesome to have you here. We're really excited to dive in with you today.
Thanks, you guys. It's really good to be here. Really good to be able to share my story.
Great to have you, Susan. Great to have you.
Yeah. So speaking of sharing your story, as I said in the intro, I thought a lot about how I wanted to open the show today. And typically, I read a lengthy bio or a life story, which leads into the questions. That's the right thing to do, I think, as a host, to do your research. But after reading your story, I don't think it would be fair for me to actually be the one to tell it, because it's literally that unbelievable. Like, this is one you want to hear it from the person's mouth. So could you walk the audience through how you found flying trapeze, number one, as a sport, and then how your life changed just dramatically afterwards?
Sure. So this was back in 2004. My friend asked me if I wanted to go do flying trapeze, and I looked at her kind of like, do what, And so we have a furniture store out here in the Boston area, Jordan's Furniture, and they open a number of stores, and they always have some kind of gimmick to pull people in. And the store they opened up in Reading had brought in Trapeze School of New York, and they came in and they set up a double rig set up there, and they brought in coaches that were from New York and all this stuff. And so the space allows for you to either pay like $10 and do a swing, just, going off the board and just swinging, or you can take 2-hour classes. So my friend had done it the week before, so I went with her, and I just took to it like butter. It was amazing. This rig in particular is a little different than most rigs because it's indoors. It's meant for a lot of safety because, little kids, anybody who's just walking through the store could go into it. So the setup of the rig is you climb stairs, like a stairway that's kind of enclosed a little bit. Most rigs have just a little ladder going straight up. And this board was a double board, so it was really wide. So I got up there, no problem. You're belted in. They've got safety lines that go, over the rig and then down to a spotter, and they hold the lines, and they're the one who's keeping you safe. And I don't really have much fear about anything. And so I remember reaching out for the bar when they told me to, and that was when you kind of reach over and you look down, you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of high, but I just went for it. And they teach you a beginner's trick during the first 90 minutes. And so you practice that. It's something called a knee hang. It's very basic. It's something that the people on the ground can easily pull lines for to help you be in a position for the catching. And so the last half hour of the class is for catching. So you get 2 chances, and I got caught both times, and that was it. New York, the Trapeze School of New York has a tagline saying, "Forget the fear and worry about the addiction," and that's absolutely what happened for me.
Well, and let's pause there for a moment. So because we've all experienced this if we're athletes, the moment you just fall in love with a sport or fall in love with something. I had it with ice hockey. The first time I skated, I just knew this is my life, right? You found it in 2004, and you did this, you fell in love with it, right? I want the audience to understand this was an experience, life-changing experience for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then from there, things started to happen.
Yeah, things really happened. I took to it really well. I have a kind of a naturally muscular build, and I do a job that I have to do a lot of heavy lifting and stuff. So I was able to really listen to the coaches, which is important, you know, because everything's done on the timing at the apex, you know, of the swing. So I really loved it. I was going there. I started going once a week, twice a week, and I was just kind of climbing up it pretty quickly. I didn't really realize how much progress I was making in such a short amount of time until, you know, I had a couple of classmates who had been doing it for a few years. And this one woman, she came and she said, okay, how are you going to show us up this time? And I, you know, that was not at all the thing. I was just doing it. I just had it. And I found that if I wasn't able to do it at the right timing, I was able to muscle into a lot of tricks, which, you know, it's not as clean, but I could do it. And so like within 4 months, I was pretty much at a intermediate advanced level. And it was just, it made me feel whole. It made me feel like I had found the thing that I did, and I did well, and it just called to me. And so after 4 months, I found another rig that was an outdoor rig and went to that one. And they found out that I'd only been flying for 4 months, and they said, you know, I don't think you should take the intermediate class, but we'll let you do a few things. So as soon as I did that, they're like, oh, sure, you can stay in the intermediate class. I mean, yeah, in advance. It was great. And honestly, everybody who does it and teaches it, they're just amazing people. They're so supportive. They're just so encouraging because, you know, we weren't working at a professional level. So it just makes it a lot easier for them to be kind to us, to not be hard on us. That comes later, but, you know, it was just an amazing experience. And I traveled, I went to a couple of outdoor rigs in the area. And then I even flew to Baltimore to fly on the TSNY rig on the Baltimore Harbor. And so I was just doing that and having a great time.
So let's again, just to kind of continue the story here, which you're about to do. I want to reiterate to the audience a few things. One is this didn't happen when you were in high school. I will not dare say your age out of respect, but this did not happen. You found this a little later in your life, which I think is also a really important point. That, you know, you don't have to be 18 to figure it out, right? A lot of times with our audience, especially the younger audience, I got to have it all figured out by the time I'm 20. That's so untrue. There's never a point ever in your life you're going to have it figured out. That's one of the biggest lies that there is. And when you do have it figured out, life will make sure that you don't have it figured out pretty quickly after that. So
exactly.
You found this passion, you're traveling, you're super serious about it. You're in the best shape of your life now. And then go ahead forward.
So I had to have an echocardiogram done because I had an SVT, which is a supraventricular tachycardia, a really racing heart rate, and that had happened 5 years prior to I tried trapeze. It just kind of came out of nowhere. I had it checked out. They found a small hole in my heart, which is a birth defect that probably at least 25% of the people are born with. Nowadays, they actually can fix it in vitro, but as we said, I was born in an era when they weren't really doing that. And so when they checked it out, he looked at everything. He said, come back in a year. Let's look at it again. He said, this probably is not a problem. So a year later, I had it checked out again. And he said, no, you're fine. Just have this checked out every 4 or 5 years. And so during my period of doing trapeze, and this was like getting into after like about 10 months of doing it, I had the echo and I had to go back and get the results. And the day before I had to get the results, I was the only person in class, and I worked so intensely, probably 20 times up the stairs on the trapeze, and doing catch with the catcher, and then trying to work off the catcher to press down and turn and grab the bar when it comes back. So I did that over and over again, and I was beat red, sweaty, and exhausted. And there were a number of times that I felt pretty exhausted practicing just the swing along, which is a lot of work. But, you know, I thought this is just an exhausting thing, but I had no problem doing anything. So when I went to do the cardiology report, he told me that my heart was in failure. I had cardiomyopathy. My heart was not working enough to even really give me enough blood, and they considered me at risk of sudden death. And I couldn't believe it, because I said to him, you know, I'm standing there, I'm looking at him going, so you're telling me that all these muscles I have, everything that I've been doing, everything's great, but the heart muscle, the muscle that I need the most, is so damaged that I'm at risk of sudden death. He's like, yep. And you can't do trapeze anymore because you could just drop dead on doing it. I thought to myself, that's crazy, you know, that can't be. And he's like, you know, this happens with athletes. And, you know, and I was reminded of Reggie Lewis, the basketball player who dropped dead during a practice. And it was the same kind of thing. And so that crushed me. I mean, that I was dazed and confused when I got this, you know, news, and it's just like I couldn't wrap my head around it. And it took a little bit, and they wanted me to stop immediately. And this was over a holiday weekend, and I had already signed up for a class. So I went to the rig, and they knew what happened. And I remember my coach, Barbara, was like, I don't think I can let you do this. I just looked at her and said, you have to. This is going to be the last time I'm going to do it. I may never do it again. So I got to do it that one more time. And after that, I kind of crashed for a little bit. You know, yeah. I was crying in the shower. It was funny because it wasn't the fear of the heart failure that had me in tears. It was just the great loss of trapeze. I had met a whole family of people, you know, they were my people. That was what I did. That's what we talked about. That's, you know, I did my job, but trapeze was really my life at that time. And so that was crushing. That was absolutely crushing.
So Susan, before you get into the, you know, the story that, you know, takes us to where we are now, I just, let's just focus, excuse me. Let's focus on the part of, you know, you had a family, another family, you had a teamwork, you had a group of people who, you know, let's be honest, doing a dangerous sport, like, you know, I've jumped out of airplanes 500 times, but I don't think I'm doing trapeze. I'll just tell you that. So
I'm the reverse.
So, you know, so you found that group, that connection, that ability to communicate with others. And I think sometimes in society, especially with COVID, these lockdowns, stay away, don't talk, 6 feet. I don't think we're doing it correctly. So just talk about that teamwork experience in that group, that family.
Oh, sure. You know, I get to the rig, and I basically had certain classes that I signed up for. I was there every Tuesday night, every Friday night, and then one day on the weekend. And so you end up having like a similar group that does the same times. And my friends were amazing. Some of them were just clearly great. Others were just like me, just doing it for sport. And the coaches were so much fun. We would, you know, always go out to, I think we went to Chili's usually afterwards on a Friday night, and just kind of hang around and talk circus. And there's, you know, a number of guys who actually went to circus school. One of them was a clown, you know, for a while. And the catchers, the guys, mostly guys, they were just so much fun to listen to, you know, and how they had been doing it since they were younger. And we would do things socially, you know. One of the catchers, he would do drag shows. So a group of us would go into town and we'd go see his drag show. other people. This woman, Boo, she's amazing. She would have us over to her house for parties. They also had what was a trapeze house, because most of these people were coming in from New York. So that was another place we could go and hang out and talk about circus. And I just found everybody that I met were professionals, the people who were flying as sport. It's an expensive sport, and it's a different sport. You know, you have to have the guts to do it. You have to have the willingness to put the work in. And so I met people who are just much different than the everyday people I met, you know, doctors, professionals, but people who really found strength and love of sport, you know, and we all had that in common. We all loved it. We all were excited for each other. You know, there was just so much support from everybody, you know, great trick, you're doing great. Wow, that's amazing. You know, it's so much fun. And the people really, really drew me in. And even when I wasn't able to fly, I was still in touch with these people. And I can't say enough how supportive they are. You know, there's just, even if you're failing, you're never failing. You know, you're just always learning, you're always trying. So
important, because we talk about it all the time in the show, and JB, you alluded to this, you know, human beings, extroverts, introverts, and anywhere in between, we're meant to work together, like psychologically, physically, like our species is meant to work in groups, as a community, as a family, right? JB's texting that to me right now. I'm saying it live on the air, right? It's super important. And in today's world, and not just because of COVID, this has been this way for a while, super unappreciated, how important teams are, and to be part of a team and to work together.
So
the fact that you found that is a gift in itself. What was not a gift is that life, as it often does, decides that, no, you cannot have this anymore. Now, what I love about where this story goes here is, you know, we're about to hit rock bottom, okay, for lack of a better term. Okay. I love that you said that you're faced with death, literally, sudden death, literally. Your mind goes a lot of different places. One of them is, I can't believe I'm not going to be with this community anymore. It's amazing where the mind goes in the face of death, right? So this is what I love about your story, because again, for the audience here, this is going to be the rock bottom portion of it, as I just said. But what happens afterwards, and the way you push through this, literally hell, is insane. And it just shows the power of will. It shows the power of belief, shows the power of community and family, and shows the power of you. So why don't you walk us through what happened next?
Okay. So after I was diagnosed, and I was really depressed, and just really wasn't eating a lot, and I felt like I was walking around in a blur. I was still able to work, but I couldn't do any of the heavy lifting anymore. So there were segments of my job, which my job was installing and maintaining fish tanks. And so, you know, it was just me and my boss for a good 10, 15 years, just the two of us. She and I would do everything. We'd install all our setups. We would usually deny help from the guys who were trying to help us. That would honestly get in the way a lot of times, because there's ways to move a fish tank in and out, and, you know, try not to damage stuff. So I wasn't able to do that. I was in a pretty crappy relationship for about 7 or 8 years at that point. And I would come home and I couldn't go to trapeze. That was really all I did. You know, I didn't mind on the couple of nights that I wasn't there, because he usually wasn't home and I could just relax and do my thing. But I was shoved back into being home and feeling like I couldn't do anything. And so I think it was 2 days of real depression. And then I had listened to a number of people who kept telling me, try yoga. And I thought to myself, you know, I've been up in the air flying, and you want me, you know, to find something good down on the ground. And I also couldn't do hot yoga, which is very, very popular in the United States. And so I, searched around in the area. I lived just inside the Boston area. And I was able to find a studio with this woman, Nancy Wilson. She was amazing. So I called and left a message. She got right back to me and said, come to tomorrow night's class. She said, I won't be there, but Charles will be there. And I went and I tried it. And I found such a good feeling there, just stretching my body, doing things that I hadn't done before. And also this is another classroom setting. So it's just, this class in particular is much different than I think a lot of the other Americanized yoga. So this was a lot of breath and body work, a lot of mindfulness, a lot of slow moves. So and she had amazing teachers, and she herself was just unbelievable. I really can't tell you how much of a surprise it was for me to get into the yoga, to find her, to find these other people, and to be in a classroom and all working together. And honestly, when you've got that breath work and you've got the people moving and everything synchronized, it just, we're not trying to synchronize it, it just syncs up. And then you've got this whole being, you are one in all in this.
Right.
And so I really got into that. And that I just kept doing. And I would push myself, and I would just try, rest. I would, sit there and count my heartbeats and see if it wasn't too high. I just kind of pushed through it, and I stopped worrying about my heart, and I just did this. And I was doing it probably 5 times a week. Again, another classroom setting, incredible instructors, great corrections. I just got a good dose of spirituality. My teacher would, when we were in Shavasana, which was the end of class, she would read from a lot of books, Rumi and other yogis and just all kinds of things, so that, I would do this work, I would push, I could feel the energy, and then you lie down and rest. And there was a few times when I was lying on that mat, listening to Nancy, and I just left my body. It was just intense moments. And I was able to power that into being able to leave my relationship, get out of it, take care of myself. I realized that I was eventually going to need somebody to take care of me if I got that far, and it wasn't going to be him. So I had a lot of support from that community. And also through that, I met some great people, because there was a photographer who came in to take pictures for the class website. And this guy, Tea, who I met, he was the photographer, he's a professional photographer, and he also has a company that talks about diversity, because he's Asian, German, African-American blend, and he was just a very interesting person. And I also had him take a picture. So I love the picture that he took of me, which is me just sitting at prayer. And then I brought him a picture of me on the trapeze, and I asked him, could you make these about the same size? And so we just became friends. He introduced me to his friends, which were all very educated, intellectual people, which just really just took my mind, and I was able to really be more and more of myself. I grew up in a family that pretty quiet, but very educated, big thinkers. I always say, I have a PhD by proxy. I actually never finished college, but I had a great background from all my family. So there was just so many things that came from trapeze and yoga, and then into my social life and being able to leave my relationship. I lived on my own for a while, and I just felt really good. I felt really good. And it's all through the people that I was with, and the sports that got me there, the body. For me, it's the mind and the body. It has to be connected and has to be moving and has to be, cared for. And that's what I got from them. And then over the 5-year period that I was doing yoga, I really never had any symptoms. And I actually got a motorcycle and started riding that. I'd never ridden it before. I think I did mini bikes as a kid. And then I got a motorcycle and I, really felt that feeling of flying in a way. And eventually, things started happening. I noticed I was getting swelling in my feet. I was working and it was a really hot day and I couldn't understand why I was so tired. And it was a heat wave. I couldn't finish my job. I actually found an office. I was, doing a tank in an office, and I found a place to lay down underneath somebody's desk. And I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, this is how far I've pushed it away. And so I was listening to the news, and it was a heat wave, and they say, babies, elderly people, and people with heart conditions. And it just hit me. I'm like, oh, that's me. I have a heart condition. And so I had the swelling. I was tired, getting more tired. I had refused to get an ICD, which is an implanted defibrillator, because I didn't want it. It was a way for me to deny what was going on. So nobody could ever tell I was sick. Nobody could ever tell that I was close to death a number of times. And so my dad actually asked me to move back home because it was a little bit hard for me to pay my rent, and he knew what was coming. So I moved back home, and it was a little hard because, I was in my 40s and living back home with my parents. So it's a little triggering for me, but it, I was grateful to be here. But it did lead me to, work, do yoga, and go out. And so I was doing that kind of thing for a while. And I'd always been single because I just didn't really trust that anybody could handle what was happening. So I really never told that many people other than friends. And then one night I went to a restaurant bar that a friend of mine worked at. I'd become friends with her, and I sat down at the bar, and there was this really nice guy next to me, and we started talking, and we hit it off. And he was just so different from anybody else I ever talked to. He's a software engineer. He's really smart, very funny, very kind, and we just hit it off right away. And so we had this great romance for 6 months, and I was able to tell him. He was the first person I told right away that I had heart failure, was probably gonna die or have a heart transplant, which I never wanted. And so he helped me through that, and I took him to the cardiologist appointment with me one time. And my cardiologist, who is the best of the best in Boston, works at Mass General, Dr. Deck. I love this man. He we did my checkup, and then he just kind of said, he's like, I'm taking advantage that there was a second set of ears in this room. And he looks at John and he says, she needs to have this implantable device. He's like, this will, set her heart straight if she has another SVT. It'll keep, it's not going to revive me if I drop dead, but at least it will stop anything that would happen. And so I agreed. And the doctor was kind of surprised. He's like, I was pretty sure you're going to say no again. But John was worried. There were times that he got really worried for me because I would get so tired and exhausted, and I just have to stop everything. And so I got the implant done in 2011. And then it kind of started cascading after that. I had a major blood clot in my arm because of the surgery. And fortunately, that wasn't a really big problem. Then I actually had a TIA, which is a transischemic attack. And so this was a temporary stroke. So there was a time I woke up in the middle of the night and John was sleeping in the back bedroom. And I woke up feeling weird and couldn't figure out what was going on until I realized that I was trying to use my left hand to move my right leg. And so I was able to get my phone. I tried to talk to John. You can't talk when you've had a stroke. And he just came in, he called the ambulance immediately. And I'm just looking at that, I keep trying to talk to them. And, you know, it's weird because you're there and they're all around you, but they're not with you. And so when I got to the hospital after a couple hours, and so this attack probably went on for about 6 hours, and all of a sudden it came back. I was able to talk. I was okay. I was able to talk to everybody, and it passed. And so I went in, stayed overnight at Mass General, and there was really no repercussion from it. But we learned that, you know, I am a clotter, so got to watch out for the blood clots. Got in a thinner. And then, you know, with the device, I had to go all the time and have this thing checked. They would raise my heart rate really quickly with it and bring it back down. Then there was all kinds of things. Then other things went wrong with my heart. I had Afib really bad, so I had a number of Afib attacks. There was a period for about 3 or 4 months when I was in an ambulance once or twice a week. And it got to the point where I would tell the EMTs what to do, you know. I need this, I have this, you have to give me this, you have to give me this. And so basically those attacks would happen. I'd end up in the hospital for a short period of time. Nobody wanted to let me go because my blood pressure was so low. And I just said, call my cardiologist. And so he would just say, let her go, this is how it is. And so that went on, and I eventually had to stop working. And then that was 2015, I stopped working. And I had another SVT, my defibrillator blew. That was really rough. That had actually happened earlier than 2015, and then it happened again in 2015. And I was avoiding transplant, and my cardiologist finally said, he's like, I can't do anything more for you. You have to go into transplant. And so that's a team of doctors. I no longer had this doctor that I'd had for 10 years. And it was hard, but he set up the whole transplant. He coordinated the whole transplant team from the beginning in 1986. So he was around for like one of the first transplants at Mass General, and I trusted him. And so it went pretty quickly after that.
But just to confirm for the audience, we're talking about heart transplant, right? Correct. So I want to make sure the audience understands here. This is a heart transplant.
Yes.
That is the ultimate.
This is a heart transplant.
Yes.
Yeah. And as one woman said to me once, so your whole heart? I said, yes, the entire heart. Yeah.
That's why I'm bringing this up, because like sometimes people think, oh, is it how's that? Her entire heart is going to be replaced at this point, which is terrifying in itself. And again, Susan, I'm gonna let you continue here. I just got to say this again. You've gone from now in this story from just about 11 years from finding complete athletic mental freedom, the gift of that, to literally having to have now you're imprisoned by your own body. And I'm only bringing this up because I want our audience, especially the younger athletes, to understand. Because like, look, athletes go through injuries, athletes go through things where, you know, it can be lots of adversity. This is now someone who has found her passion in life, and her own body is keeping her hostage from doing it. So when you have to find an anchor, for everybody listening, again, and Susan, we're going to continue the story here. Remember Susan, remember her story, because it can be taken away by no fault of your own. And again, you didn't ask for this. You didn't do anything to cause this. Usually with athletic injuries, it's like, oh, I went in the corner and I broke my leg. I was born with something that I had no control over. And now you're about to have a heart transplant. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I just want to add how her mind kept her body going for so long as you were on this journey.
Right.
Because you were like, what's going on? I don't even remember. You said you were laying underneath somebody's desk and they said, you know, if you have a heart condition, you should go outside. And you're like, oh, I have a heart condition. But see, we, you know, and we talk about it on this show a lot, the power of the mind and how your mind like kept your body going when you could have been like, I have a heart condition. And you could have went south quickly.
Yeah, wasn't a crutch.
But you didn't. You went north because of the positive. Let's get this is fascinating. Go ahead, Susan, back to you.
Sure. Yeah, like I said, I was determined to I like I said, I didn't want the ICD. I was determined to just go through and drop dead because I felt like I had done so much in my life. I'd been places, I'd done crazy things, I'd done all the things I wanted to, and I found, like I said, the sport that I loved, and I was able to do that. And so going into transplant was really different. My doctor would call it the T word for me because he knew I really didn't want it. He knew I didn't want to go there, but it just came to a point where, I was just unable to work, unable to really do anything. And so this was August of 2015, I had to have open heart surgery, and they took a turbine engine in a little case with 2 tubes. And so, I'm cut down into my gut, and they stick this engine into my stomach or my abdomen. And the 2 tubes go from the left ventricle chamber around to the aorta. And now I've got a turbine engine that is running the blood for me. It's not even pumping it, it's running it. So, the thing is whirling at God knows what speed. And so I no longer had a heartbeat. And I was really, really sick at the point when I went in for this LVAD heart pump. My boyfriend had been carrying me up and down the stairs.
It's
and,
terrifying.
I was just really.
Susan, I gotta say that is just terrifying the way you describe that.
Yeah, they make you RoboCop. It's like RoboCop.
Oh yeah.
Actually,
John loved it because he had a cyber girlfriend, so it's like my cyborg.
And you were awake.
I was a cyborg.
You were awake. You could.
Yeah.
You're telling me that you were awake when this was happening. Like you could see this thing working.
No, not during the surgery,
No,
but afterwards.
Not. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
So
it's surreal.
Yeah, afterwards. Yeah. So I had a cord coming out of my stomach.
Yeah.
I could plug it into battery packs that I had to wear. Wow. I was so sick at the time. Recovery was really hard from that.
Yeah, because you got a
machine,
piece of machinery in your
blood.
body.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and
you got
also,
a piece of machine in your body, of course.
Yeah, and they call it a bridge to transplant, or a bridge in general. And for me, they had actually told me, I'd taken some tests, and they're like, don't do anything. We don't want you to do anything. So I just had to lie around for a while. And so I was very thin, very weak. The surgery was very difficult. I felt horrible afterwards. And they tried to give me narcotics when I was coming out of the surgery, but my breathing went so low, they couldn't do that. So for like a week, or actually a lot longer, for the 3 weeks I was in the hospital, they weren't giving me narcotics. I was in tons of pain, and they were giving me a different drug, I was on a different drug, which turns out I had a bad reaction to because I had migraines constantly. And so when I get migraines, it's the optical migraine, I can't really see, right, and I'm in a lot of pain. And so the whole 3 weeks I was in the hospital, I was just, I had a constant migraine going on. And so, I left the hospital, and me being me, I was determined to go to a friend's wedding. And so I told them I wanted the surgery earlier so that I could go to the wedding. And so I got out on Friday, like August 27th or something like that. And I was home for an hour. I didn't tell the doctors or anything, packed my bags, took all my equipment, and John's just like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, we're going. I had actually specifically gone out and bought an outfit that was 2 pieces so that the cord could come through. And I went to a wedding. I was thin as a rail and walking in, kind of still looking like death. But
with no heart.
To this wedding down the Cape.
Like with no heart.
With no heart, basically. Yep.
That's
no heartbeat. You can't find it.
This is why I said in the open, this story's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is.
Yeah, I'm shaking, for people that are just listening and not viewing on our YouTube or anything. I'm like shaking my head back and forth Susan, because I can't believe it. Because you're like a crazy woman, but I love it.
There's people that don't want to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
This lady's going to a wedding with no heart in her body.
I don't got a heart. You know, hey, make sure the turbine.
No, the heart was
John,
there.
John,
the heart was there.
John, do you got a battery pack for this
Yeah.
turbine? So I make sure it doesn't run that. Like,
I can't.
this is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
what are you doing, Susan? Charging your phone? No, the turbine for my heart.
The turbine, you know, at home, I actually had a 20-foot cord, which is like a leash that I could plug into a large source.
Oh my
There you
God.
go.
And we brought that too. And we brought that too. So they, you know, they don't want you to sleep
Accessories.
on battery. So
Wow.
yeah, so I had
Yeah.
a 20-foot cord, which was able to keep me in my beds and make it to the bathroom and back. And it was crazy. It really was. I think
Lee,
the people
Lee, could you see her being home for an hour, 1 hour after this, you know, evasive, massive, you know, precision surgery? Honey, do you want to lay down? No, get my bag.
Let's go to the wedding. Yeah, we
we're going to the
Get my
wedding.
bag. We're going to a
This
wedding.
story is incredible. And here's the thing, for those of you listening, this story's not even done yet. We're not even like this keeps going. It's incredible. Like something, I don't know what faith anybody corresponds to listening. Something wanted you to keep going here. All right. And
I guess so.
as JB said, your mental fortitude has got to be, there's no test for that. It's off the charts. Okay. I just want to reiterate before you jump back into the story. This woman has no heart in her body. There's a
No, I
machine
had
in
a
her
heart.
body.
It was just messed up.
It was
bypassed.
Unbelievable. Yeah, keep going. This is incredible. Your heart was bypassed, and you're just running around.
It's there, but it's not useful.
It's there, but it's not working. It's not working. And so, you know, after the wedding, I came home and I did crash. It was pretty hard, and I was really weak, so the batteries were heavy. Getting around was awful. I, you know, had a cord coming out of my stomach, and I was really, really having a hard time with it. And John was great. He would do whatever we could. We went out and bought different vests or pants to try and figure out a way, because the battery thing that they gave me was on one shoulder and it just killed all the time. It was just pulling on me. So we found different things so that I could put the batteries in pockets and stuff like that. But I was pretty miserable. And that was for 10 weeks. So the thing about having that was, and for me, and honestly, 10 weeks on an LVAD is a really short period. There are people who go on it for years sometimes. And they told me, you know, have the LVAD, you're going to stay alive, you're going to get stronger. And I did. I was able to start walking again. I got pretty strong. We were going out. I actually went out to dinner one night with friends, had my bag with me. So that went on. And then at one of the visits, because I had to go every week, they told me, so with the pump, it puts you, they have, the doctors can choose a time to put you at the top of the transplant list for 30 days. And so if you don't get a heart within 30 days, you've at least banked 30 days up at the top, which helps you in the line, you know. So they actually did this in October. I think the end of September, early October, they told me they were going to put me at the top of the list. And I didn't know until later. They chose that time because I was the only person with type A blood on the list. So they were really, really sure that they were going to get me a heart. They didn't tell me this, but they were really sure. And they told me I was going to be a rock star in their terms. You know, you're going to be able to do this. You're going to get through it. You're going to do great. And I did find out that they kind of passed on 2 hearts for me. They gave them to somebody else, and then they were waiting for a good young heart. So I actually don't really know about my donor. I haven't looked into it, but I know it was somebody in their early 20s. And so, you know, here I am with a heart that is, you know, this news came, got a little head. So I'm on the list. And so John and I are in ready mode for this 30 days. You know, if he goes out, he's got his phone ready for me, because, you know, I get the call at any time.
Go right in. Yeah.
I have to be, I've got to be in the hospital within 2 hours. So it was a Friday morning, October 23rd. And I'm in bed and my phone rings. This was probably about 7 o'clock in the morning. And, hi, Susan, we have a heart for you. And it was just kind of crazy. It was like the two of us were kind of running around, a little bit of panic and stuff. And so we made it into the hospital, and I was freaked out. And, I remember I'm sitting there on a bed with the sheets in my hand and, clenching and stuff. And all my doctors came in to see me, check with me, you're going to do fine. You're going to do fine. And I had the heart transplant. I think it was an 11-hour operation. I woke up shortly after the operation was done. So I was still, had a tube down my throat, and I still had the anesthesia going. And the nurses were walking by. This is like 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning, walking by, and I'm looking at them. I know I have the thing in my mouth, and I'm like waving, and they're kind of looking at me like, I said hi. And so she came in, she goes, how you doing? I'm like, and she's like, we're going to wait a little bit and we'll take that out for you. And I'm like, okay. So for the first 6 hours, I was like up and all right. And they took the tube out, and I was ready. And
you're ready John to go to a wedding again, Susan.
I was, Yeah. I thought I was, and so John came in the morning, and I saw him for a few minutes. And then they had to do something, and he left to get breakfast. And I just all of a sudden went into, all the drugs. I started having shaking. I was basically having rejection really quickly. And so the nurse has to work very hard. I've got, this thing behind me that's got nothing but drugs going into it that are going into my neck. And so she's back there, and it felt like, she's the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain doing something, and work to get me all right for the day. And so I got well really quickly. I had nurses and doctors walking in, and they're like, I can't believe you just had a heart transplant, because I looked so well. I had color. John walked in, and he's been used to seeing monitors, and he said the monitor looked completely different than he'd ever seen it before. This was obviously a heart that was doing really well. And
Susan,
so,
let me ask you a quick question. Because this is I'm thinking this question. I realize I've never asked anyone this question in my life. What is it like to hear your heartbeat for the first time after a heart transplant?
It's pretty amazing. And the bigger thing for me was the heartbeat was great. I had color. I was warm. I felt really good. My heart was steady and strong. And then they came in and did an echocardiogram, and to be able to see a heart that was squeezing like it's supposed to, that was really the most amazing thing to me. It was just like, that is my heart. It's not my heart, but it's my heart, and it was really, really big. It was really big.
That's
and
amazing.
So everybody knew, my nurse and my doctor, they all knew how much, I kept saying, can I get back to trapeze? Can I get back to trapeze? Can I back?
Yeah. By the way, wait. Let's pause real quick there. Because we got to focus on this attitude again, and this attitude problem you have. Right. So it's not a problem. Obviously, I'm joking, but we got to talk about the perseverance of your mind here. All right. This is someone who is getting a heart transplant. This is someone who's walking around with a machine pumping her blood. Trapeze probably wouldn't be top of mind for most people. Surviving would be, right? Like your brain goes, I just want to live, right? Maybe. I don't know how dark it got. My point is, you have a heart pumping, everybody listening, I'm sure you dismissed her going back to trapeze at some point during this episode of, wow, I hope she lives. That's where your mind goes. I just hope she survives this, right? I just want to set the stage for this, Susan, because again, we talked before the episode, Susan, about the athletes that we've had on this show. And don't get me wrong, we have great guests on this show. We have great professional athletes. We have great military people. This story is so fascinating. Like everyone needs to hear the story, because I said it before, there are people that don't want to get out of bed in the morning. You just wanted to get back to flying. So walk us through. You have a new heart. You have a new heart. It's pumping. You're alive. We'll start there. You're alive.
Yep.
All right.
You're alive. I am. Yep. And you know, my doctor, Kim Parks at the time, she came into my room and saw me, and you know, and she assured me, she said to me, she's like, you're going to be able to do trapeze, not this summer, but next summer, I'm sure. And so, you know, this is the end of this. Yes, this is the end of 2015. And so I had to go through all the hard stuff with trapeze, which is the drugs. The drugs are horrible. I was pumped up on so much prednisone, really highly immune suppressed. And I remember for months, I would have these episodes every day at 4 o'clock where I was just crawling out of my skin, so emotional. I'd be crying, I was upset. And my way to combat that was I would go to the mall and wear a mask and walk and walk and walk. I mean, there were days that I did 17,000 steps, which is just way too much, actually. You know, my nurse would have to tell me.
For a normal.
Yeah, you know, my nurse would have to tell me, slow down, you haven't even made it into cardiac rehab yet, you know. And so I did that. I went through cardiac rehab. Made it through there, got my certificate, and then I really started walking. Walking was my biggest thing. I tried doing yoga again, and that was really hard because I'd had open heart surgery twice in 10 weeks. So my sternum was pretty messed up, and it makes you kind of hunch like this. You don't know it, but you're kind of protecting it the whole time. So a lot of the moves would
we didn't even get into that. We didn't even get into the after effects of 2 open heart surgeries. I mean, I know what it's like to have shoulder surgery. I mean, my God. Yeah. Keep going. Sorry. I'm blown away by this story.
No problem. Yeah. And I had this really bad issue, and I still have it, of all the scar tissue in my abdomen, which is close to my ribs, too close to the lungs to do anything about the scar tissue. So when I get into a certain position, and this would happen a lot with exercise, if I was kind of in a crunch position, I would call it this monster. It was a big muscular spasm that would happen in the scarred areas, and it would literally stick out. You could see it, and I'd have to kind of hold on. It was very painful, and I'd have to wait until it actually kind of slowly subsided and went back down, and it still does that.
You had an alien in your body, in the movies. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is great.
You know,
oh my God.
I mean,
it was crazy.
I mean, you got RoboCop, you got Alien, all together.
Right.
Yes. That's how it felt. You know, for a long time, I felt very apart from my body, you know, because I just wasn't connected. I knew my old heart. I knew every beat. I knew when something was going to go wrong. I knew everything. And this is a new heart, and you can't attach the at-rest nerve. So your heart and mind don't know, oh, you're exercising, you need more blood.
Right.
So I have to do this very slow
whole body again. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like you said, this is like getting a new arm or something. It's more than that. But I'm just trying to paint the picture again. You're doing a good job. It's like getting a new limb. Your body wouldn't know how to use it right away. You know, it's incredible.
No. And so because your at-rest nerve isn't connected, you also have a faster heart rate because it just kind of goes at its own pace. So my resting heart rate, if I looked at my watch right now, is probably 106 just sitting here talking. If I'm sleeping, I'm lucky if it gets down into the 80s, but it's just a much faster heart rate. So when I do start doing stuff, it'll jump up quickly, and I kind of have to catch myself. And also the blood pressure medication, bending down and standing back up. There are so many times that I've, come close to blacking out, but these are, things that I live with and keep reminding myself, I'm alive, I'm doing this. And I did some yoga, and I did Pilates. I started with Pilates. A Pilates club opened, and I realized that's a great way for me to get my abdominals without really doing the whole full body yoga work. So I did that for a while. And that was through 2016. And then into 2017, I kept looking online to see when the rig was opening up, because the Beantown rig had left. And I'd heard about from one of my friends who is a catcher. He kept telling me, he's like, well, there's this other rig, Revolution Trapeze. He's like, we're outdoors, look for us, come when you can. And so they were in one location for a while, and then they had to leave that place. So they didn't reopen in 2017 until July, which was midsummer, which was actually perfect for me. And so I was so excited, and I was able to go. And my first day back was like July 17th. And I almost didn't know what to do. You know, I was able to get there. I climbed the ladder. I was just insanely happy. I messed up a few times. I scraped my face across the net. I had, you know, abrasions here and there. And, and, you know, and I was not doing what I used to do, but there, you know, I have a picture of me just beaming with, you know, a big scrape across my face, but I could not have been happier.
Incredible.
I could not have been happier. Yeah.
You made it all the way back. That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Susan,
and honest,
yes.
Yep.
No, so Susan, you know, I make some light of this, you know, with the RoboCop and everything else, but you know, Lee and I are chatting back and forth here about, like, you know, the power of resilience that you had, this power. And, you know, I mean, you're super brave, you know, maybe a little crazy in a good way, but you need that for resilience. Like you need that to continue to, you know, find a way to the next level. We had our friend on, Ben Harrow, who, you know, was a double amputee and basically found his way back. So you need to have that positive thinking. And excuse me. And what power of medicine that we have today, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Just
excuse me, you know, these doctors that and nurses that you had and looked out for you and just said, you know what, this is, I mean, 11-hour surgery, getting your way back, you know, and just you describing this, it's literally fascinating. So back to you, Susan.
So honestly, my doctors were just so amazing and so good. They're great at their jobs. You know, I'm 6 years out now. So I had the transplant October 23rd, and it was almost exactly 10 years to the day when my doctor told me, right. You know, I said to him, how long am I going to, you know, be like this? He's like, you know, everybody's different. He's like, could be 1 year, could be 2 years, could be 5 years, could be 10 years. And it was actually almost exactly 10 years to the date from I was told that, you know, I was really sick and I needed help and probably gonna have to have a transplant until I had the transplant. It was really 10 years. Yeah. And
it's incredible.
I can't tell you. I mean, the doctors are great. So now I work with a team. So I don't always see the same doctors. It's a little bit different, but fortunately I have coordinating nurses that have been the same the whole time. Mass General is a teaching institution too. So there's a lot of people that come through and, you know, do their residency or, you know, they do the fellowship. I had to have, you know, I've had so many heart biopsies. I finally just cleared for the last year. I haven't had a heart biopsy. I don't have to have a heart biopsy again after 5 years. It's kind of a joke where they take your new heart back just a little piece at a time, you know, and they're doing that looking for cellular rejection. And I did have rejection a couple of times. And so one time I had to be dosed up really high with prednisone, like 800 milligrams over a week. Wow. And, you know, and then back in for biopsy until it cleared. And, you know, so I went through years of going to the hospital and having, you know, I've had angiograms every year. I've had all kinds of things, mostly the biopsies, which are, I learned how to do it without using any drugs. You know, I'd just go there, I'd have a Xanax, lay on the table, wide awake. They go in through your neck, and they do all the stuff. And I could actually see it on the screen. So I could see them go in there with the catheters, little alligator clip. I could see them pull the thing and rip it out of my neck. And it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It was really crazy. You know,
and smiling about it because they're smiling about it.
She's like, it's all good. Yeah. I went back to trapeze. I scraped my face on the net. You know, I'm good to go. Yeah. I love it.
You know, But you just learn. You just learn how to do it. And for me, like a lot of people would take the drugs, but I learned that I could walk in. I got to the point where I could drive in myself, walk in, get on the table, just take off my shirt, and have my pants and my boots on and lie on the table and deal with it.
My God.
It could be hard, but I was able to, once it's finished, you know, it's like about an hour-long procedure sometimes, a little bit more, but, you know, I could sit back up, put my shirt on, walk out and drive home. And then when I get home, I'd have to lay down because I'd be in so much pain. It took a while before the pain really set in.
For sure.
From all the
imagine.
pressure. Yeah.
Susan, I've got 2 follow-up questions just to round this out because this incredible story. One, just to back up what JB was saying, you know, what you tell yourself mentally to get through these things, you know, you have to have the right mindset to do it. You know, we talk all the time on the show about anchors. And what I mean by anchors again is like, I always reference the military. Like when I think I'm having a tough day, I think about what's the military doing to protect our way of life today. And is my day that hard? You know, your story is going to be an anchor, you know, for me. JB mentioned Ben Harrow. His story is an anchor for me. This is the question I have for you. And hopefully for our listeners, by the way, when you're having a hard day or you have a major injury where you're out to 6 to 8 weeks, you know, this woman dealt 10 years of this to get back to her sport. 10 years. Yeah. That's a decade. Life happens. My question to you is, you're my anchor. Susan, what was your anchor throughout this?
Throughout this, my anchor was John. I met him. He was my anchor. He was there for me. He was solid. He felt every bit of this. I would say he probably had the worst end of the 5 years that, you know, into transplant, without a doubt. And afterwards, it's the drugs do a number. And so I deal with that. It's a lot less now. I'm on a lot less drugs, a lot lower drugs. So that's good. But John was my anchor. John was there for me. My friends, you know, my friends from Trapeze that I was in touch with, you know, messaging and stuff. But my real anchor was John. He got me through this. He was there for me more than my family was capable. And even more than some of my closest friends. I lost a couple of friendships over it, you know, which, you know, one of them was a 40-year friendship, you know, and it was actually kind of a power struggle between, like, you know, my John and her. For some reason, you know, she just didn't like that she couldn't do what she wanted to do. And that was hard. But John was my anchor, and knowing that I could get back to trapeze was really, that was on my mind from the beginning.
I'm going to say this too, just for the listeners. One, reiterating, no matter what you're going through, Susan, you went through something, to say the least. No one does it alone. One of the big things I see in athletics, and not just athletics, just team environments, is people go, I have to do this myself. And don't get me wrong, there are things in life sometimes you have to persevere. You absolutely did, Susan. There was absolutely a mental perseverance in you that is unmatched, obviously. But even with that, you don't have to do it yourself. It's not possible. The second thing was, in addition to John, God bless him too, you had a goal, which is, I will fly again. We don't talk about that actually enough on the show, JB, is how important goals are. To live without a purpose is not living. And there's a lot of people right now living without purpose. And it makes me ask the question, are you living at all? Susan, you lived through all of that. You lived through all of it. There's people perfectly healthy that are not living right now, and they need the help, right? And there's the negative talk in their head, and they're not persevering because of the mental consciousness that they keep telling themselves of what's the point, right?
Oh yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it wouldn't be crazy if you reached points like that with your story, but you persevered, you pushed forward, you had an anchor, you had help, you had people there that cared about you, you had a goal. So if you're in a position in your life right now where maybe it's just vanilla every day, you don't have to find it the next 10 seconds, but get yourself a goal. Find something you want to do, something you want to pursue. And for Pete's sake, pursue it. Even if you don't get it, pursue it, because it will give you meaning. Susan, your life has meaning, all of it. I'm insanely inspired by your story. I'm insanely inspired by it, and you tell it with a smile. It's incredible.
Lee, you know what else she did through this whole thing? She continued to challenge herself. I mean, you said it, Susan. When you got the diagnosis, when you got the initial diagnosis, you couldn't do trapeze. You said you were in 2-day depression, and then you pulled yourself up and you found yoga and you became a yoga master, but you continue to found another community. You picked yourself up, and that's what we need to do. Sometimes we're looking for that, again, that sports center moment. You got yourself up, you got dressed, and you went to yoga. Like, there's no news crew following you around.
And JB, I want to say this too. You talk about that sports center moment. That's why this show exists, because nobody gets to that sports center moment without this journey. Nobody. And that's the thing is we always only talk about the sports center moment, which, don't get me wrong, they're great. I'm not against sports center moments, right? Susan, you going back, that's a sports center moment. It's everything leading up to that made that possible. That's where the learning is. That's where the life is, right? The moment is just a moment. That's it. Mm-hmm. Like, we again, not going to digress here, but like, I remember talking with somebody about Neil Armstrong landing on the moon, right? That was a moment of his life. Then what? He had severe depression after that, and he has already accomplished the greatest thing he's ever going to accomplish. And then what? The human mind, the human spirit is an incredible thing. We need each other more than ever to accomplish it. And that's going to bring me to my other follow-up question, Susan. Okay. Mm-hmm. Didn't even get up to COVID times yet. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So look, a lot of people in the world right now, this isn't even an American thing. A lot of people in the world right now, we don't know where we're going. We don't know what we're doing. Okay. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You are someone who lived a good portion of your life facing death daily, right? We always talk about, hey, live every day like it's your last. Well, that was a literal, it's literal for everybody, but that was a literal deal for you every day. Every day could be the last. Mm-hmm. For the people listening to this show, maybe they're doing all right, maybe they're not. What is your advice? How does someone like you, for 10 years, not knowing if you're going to wake up the next day, and I'm not saying you even thought about it that way, but that was the reality of it. What is your advice to our audience to just persevere in life?
Honestly, I feel like find something that opens you up to be whole and spiritual, and understand that it's not just you. It's not about you. You're here. Everybody gets a story. Everybody's different, but we're all the same in the respect that we all have the voice in our head that says, you can't, you suck, or, this is too hard, I don't want to. And you gotta just get up and do it. And for me, every day was just a restart. I don't hold on to things. I just kind of move on, sometimes to my detriment, but I push aside the thing that is hard, but I carry it with me and help. It's kind of the thing that fuels me to keep moving. Right. I don't want this bad thing to be here, so I'm going to do everything to make sure I keep going. I stay healthy. I worked out. I was able to be in good enough shape to get through both the surgeries. So I say, find meaning, find spirituality, find anything that works for you, but it's got to be about knowing that you're connected to everybody, and that what you do matters, and that, if it's something through COVID, like, keep your distance. That's all we're asking. Don't be in someone's face. Don't judge somebody else. Right. That's the other thing. I really learned to not judge myself when I went back to trapeze, because, I turned 50 in the hospital when I had my heart transplant. So I'm not young, and my body's been through a lot. And so I just recognize my limitations now. I'm not going to be the one who is excelling anymore, but I enjoy watching the people who do. Our rig put out, like, the woman who's got the first triple, she does the triple layout, and she's the first woman in the circus to do that. And she's great to see. And so they're inspiration for me too. So find an inspiration and find your understanding that we're all connected and that we all just want to be happy and be loved and be together. So
love it, Susan. You know what? Like, seriously. First off, this could be a Hallmark movie, and I think Lee and I will produce it.
We will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, this could be a Hallmark movie.
The Unstoppable Susan Norton. That's what.
Yeah, it should just be called Unstoppable or something.
Unbelievable.
This is a Hallmark movie. And your focus on resilience, and a couple things Lee and I continue to talk about is, I felt listening to your story that every single day you lived in the present.
Right.
You lived in that present moment. You weren't looking back. You weren't looking forward. You're like, okay, I have another day. Knowing that, in your case, that could be your last day, but you lived in the present, and that's so important. I think sometimes we're in the other zones. We're in past, we're in future, but we're not focused on that.
And worried about things you can't control. Yeah. And JB, just to add on to that, and I want you to continue, because we do talk about present moment awareness. In Susan, in your case, the present moment sometimes was immense pain. The present moment for you sometimes was a bypass. The present moment was them putting a thing through your neck to touch your heart. That's the present moment is not always wonderful, but it's the only reality.
Absolutely.
And if you accepted that's the other big takeaway. You just accepted this is the present moment. There's nowhere else I can be. And you said it, just get up and go. Right?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I learned this, I heard this thing where acceptance is key. And I truly believe that, if you can't accept it, you're always fighting against it. So,
right.
Yeah.
So, Susan, that turbine that was in your stomach, did you get to keep that? Do you put that somewhere? Okay.
No, that's medical stuff. I do still have the batteries and the power box for some reason. I don't know how to get rid of that, but so I do have some equipment lying around. So, but I no longer have the device.
That's great. And Susan, just to ask you, personally, is it important to you at some point to know where this heart came from, or are you comfortable not knowing, or?
Right now, I'm still comfortable not knowing. I went through a whole period of, I was highly elated in the hospital. People wanted to be around me because I was just beaming. I'd make people cry because I was so happy. And I made a story in my head as to who the donor was. And, before I did anything about it, I read an article about how there was a 30% increase in heart transplants because of the opiate addiction.
Right.
So I also live near the Boston area, and some stories are hard. I know a friend found out that their heart donor was a woman who had children whose brother-in-law killed her whole family.
Oh my goodness.
So, for me, I also don't have enough room for what somebody else might want from me as the recipient. I'm grateful for them. I talk about gratitude. I think about them all the time, but it's also someone else's loss. My greatest gift is someone's very big loss.
That is always the thing with a heart transplant, is someone survives and someone does not. But I'll tell you this, God bless you. God bless the donor, whoever it may be. I understand where you're coming from. God bless John. We talk about this too, JB. I was just thinking this too about the power of the human spirit. We talk about mind, body, and soul a lot, right? And people assume, and it's not wrong, that, well, the body is the most important thing because without the body, you can't survive. In your case, your body failed, and your mind and soul are what pulled you through it. Think about that for a minute. That's incredible. And again, the body cannot completely fail, obviously, right? But my point to you is that your mind and soul kept your body going. It just goes to show you, we do not know what humans are capable of yet. I'm telling you. People say that this is why Olympic records are broken every Olympics. This is why, space exploration goes farther and farther and farther. We do not know what we're capable of. And Susan, you are an unbelievable shining example of that. again, I don't know what percentages are, if there even were any of this, but like, again, when your story starts, it's like, wow, I hope she lives. Which we obviously, you're here, so we obviously know the outcome, but not, wow, yeah, she went back to trapeze after 10 years. And
yeah,
that's incredible.
No, and that's
incredible.
No, and that's it's the power of the mind. And Lee might be a little young for that, but remember the old Wide World of Sports they used to have, and they would show that marathon runner, coming across the finish line. The marathon runner's fine, but as soon as he comes across the finish line, like his body breaks down.
Right.
His body was done 5 miles before that, but the mind was like, nope, you're good to go. And that's exactly what Susan did. Her body was, legitimately, Susan, your body was, was done, but your mind said, it's not done yet. No,
I'm not done. I like that. I'm not
done.
No, I'm not.
I love it.
I am not.
That is. Hey, Lee, let's produce a movie on
I'm fine with it. Look, I'll just say this. If you listen to this episode, which you did, if you're hearing this, and you're not walking away inspired, the sun should be a little brighter today. You know what I mean? Yeah, you should have a little bit of meaning. I mean, Susan, I can't thank you enough for allowing us like an hour to see the world through your eyes, because the world desperately needs that right now. Perspective. I always say, Susan, people say, don't complain. No, people have a right to complain. But anchor your complaints, right? Stuff does happen. You have a right, but anchor it in meaning and understanding of, we talk about someone's working harder than you. Well, someone has it harder than you too. You know what I mean? So incredible story. Can't thank you enough for being here today.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, you guys. It was great to be able to tell my story. Thank you.
Yeah, we can't wait to share it. Yeah. So that is going to do it for this episode of Win Championship Traits for Life. And as we said, it's all about trailblazers and champions. Susan, you're both to us. And again, you don't need to be a Hall of Fame Super Bowl athlete to be on this show. Incredibly inspirational, motivational story with takeaways that will last the rest of my life. I'm not kidding. I'm not just saying that because we're on the air. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
No, yeah, hopefully it's not the last time we talk. Again, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Win Championship Traits for Life. I'm ending it now because it could go on for another 4 hours if we don't stop. You can hear this episode and all the other episodes on pivotalmomentsmedia.com, or if you're a podcast listener, wherever podcasts are heard. We're on all the major channels. Thanks for your support. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time on Win. Take care, everybody.